Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter of one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to them live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you're looking for a way to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 30 of Familiar Death. Marlot hissed as the medic pulled on the skin around the wound to shave the fur. You're lucky, the sheep said. Only the skin's torn. This could have been much worse. It doesn't feel like it. He bit down the yelp. As the antiseptic pad she used to wipe the loose fur off stung. I knew they were there. Neither of them should have got in as many blows as they did. I was careless. He hadn't realized the pain in his side was a gash until he called Bahamel. With the blood in his mouth and on his face, he hadn't been able to smell anything. Trembor had bandaged him as best as he could, destroying his shirt in the process, but Marlot thought it was worth it to see his mate shirtless. She smiled at him. You're still alive, so don't be too hard on yourself. He could smell her nervousness, now that his nose was clear, but she didn't let that affect how she interacted with him. Marlot watched her apply a numbing gel around his injuries, and he sighed in relief as the pain receded to a fraction of what it had been. She had dark brown wool, turning gray in places. Older sheep in the city weren't common. Like most prey, when they got older, they became someone's meal. Our position as a medic was one of the reasons she lived this long. Medics couldn't be hunted when they were on duty, but the scars on her hands and arms indicated she had been hunted often enough and had survived. She glanced at him as she worked and smiled. She was nervous, yes, and even a little afraid being this close to him, but she still smiled. There was life and joy in those eyes, along with the other emotions. Marlot felt strange watching someone whose life was at risk every day show so much life. He'd never thought about it before, but the farmers seemed to only be a shadow of the sheep, even though they never had to worry about being hunted. Did prey need to be in danger to feel alive? He almost asked her, but stopped himself. That would be callous, at the very least. Whatever the reason for it, he had no business prying into her life. He watched her sew his wound shut in silence. There you go, she said, cutting the thread. There'll be a scar, but it should be small enough your fur will hide it. You go see your medic in 2 weeks. He'll determine if the stitches can be removed then. In the meantime, try to avoid stressing that side. That means no hunting, if possible. She placed the needle in a small box with a syringe over a flame stamped on it. Containment for contaminated tools, he wondered. I have enough milk for that. He looked at her arms again. With some scars large enough, her wool hadn't been able to cover them. I don't mean to be insensitive, but how many predators have you survived? She looked up at him, then her arm. Oh, I got those in the war. I got my medic training when I was in the protectors, she smiled. The predators in my neighborhood know better than to think I'm their next meal. Marlot nodded. A shadow fell over them. Well, a large bear said, didn't I tell you not to wait for another disaster before arranging to see me again? Marlot tried to raise his good arm, but that pulled on his cracked rib. It made it halfway, and he raised a finger. One, I had arranged for us to have dinner together before this. I can't be held responsible for life getting in the way. He raised a second finger, then dropped his hand. Two, I didn't arrange this, although I have an idea who. Want to share? I only know in the general term. He's the killer I'm hunting. I can have Belric ask for a name. He's becoming very adept at getting answers, she added with a proud smile. Marlot chuckled and winced. Be careful, the sheep said. Even a strong laugh could tear the stitches. I don't think that's going to be a problem. The chuckle is all my ribs can let me have. He looked at the bear. Unless Belric needs something to do to chase away the boredom, he shouldn't bother. They're not going to know. The killer has to protect his position, so he wouldn't have let that slip. So he's got money. She asked, power? Marlot nodded. And some things don't add up. I'm no RI, so I'm sure there are nuances I don't get, but you're after him because he didn't pay the tax. If he has money, why didn't he pay it? He's afraid of what else will come to light when I get him. His whole life could be destroyed. The body was on the town council, as is the killer. If he paid, he would have to explain why he did it. Really? Couldn't he have come up with a reason like I was hungry? Farming towns don't hunt, and my guess is that he got scared and didn't think. Prey aren't the only ones who will make stupid decisions when scared. No hunting? Yeah, the system's built that way. The system's built that way there. Okay, sounds stupid, but fine. Second thing, why did he hire these four losers to kill you if he has money? Couldn't he have gone for someone with actual skills? Olive smiled. Are you looking to get rid of me? No, but you have to admit these guys aren't exactly up to the task. My buddy would like to argue with you, but it hurts too much. They're still alive, hence they weren't up to the task. You can blame Trembor for that, and yes, I agree with you. They weren't great. What are they, pack members? Yeah, from the Leatherbacks, a small pack of troublemakers from the Woodland neighborhood. There are rumors they have ties to the Deepclaw family, but nothing we've been able to prove. Deepclaw? One of the other families in the city. They have a claw in everything, including crime. Marlot stopped moving in the middle of a nod as he realized something. I think that's why. Can you do me a favor? Can you look if a hired killer by the name of Archie's Longleg has tied to them too? He's a coyote, and I'll send you his ID number. You think your killer knows the Deep Claws? Everyone in the council is an old family. I wouldn't be surprised of it. My guess is that he called them to have me killed, and they sent these four. 4 against 2 doesn't seem like good odds, especially considering how young they are. I'm guessing they didn't know about Trembor. 4 against 1, they wouldn't have worried about that. Oh, did you manage to get in touch with affiliated housing? I did. I spoke to your agent, Rosalan. She wasn't aware anything had happened. I sent her a picture of these guys, and she got back to me. One of the others saw the cheetah hanging around earlier today. Long enough to place a call that lured me and Trembor here. So this is related to the body in your hometown. You heading back there? Not by choice. If I reschedule the dinner for next week, does that work? Or do you prefer waiting until you're done with this? We'll be there. Even if we decide to stick around until the killer's caught, it won't take that long anymore. Trembor limped to them. He patted Bahamel on the shoulder before sitting next to Marlot. How are you feeling? His right arm was bandaged. We're alive, so the rest doesn't matter. Right now, I just wish they'd gone for more damage, so Bob had reason to arrest them. For all the pain I'm in, this isn't going to interfere with work. The bear shook her head. I couldn't arrest them for that anyway, you know that. I'm vice, not assault. But if the information you gave me pan out, you gave me a link between the leatherbacks and the deep claws, they'll be seeing the inside of a cage. Good, Trembor said, although his face indicated he wasn't sure that what most of the conversation was about. Mallot's pad buzzed. All right, Blackclaw, he answered, too exhausted to even bother checking the collar. Marlot is Jaxka. I have the sample you need. Good. Marlot tried to stand, but his other arm hurt when he tried to put weight on it. We'll head there now to pick it up. We should be there before. Trembor took the pad out of his hand. Jaxka? Marlot glared at his lion, who ignored him while listening to the frog. That's good. Forget what the wolf said. We're going to pick it up in the morning. We had an altercation, and I'm taking Marl home for some rest. He smiled. Exactly. See you then. He handed the pad back. The call was already terminated. We should get it tonight. Why? We still have to wait until tomorrow to get it to the lab. You could be putting him in danger. Trevor scoffed. His clank is guarded and he's poisonous. No one's going to bother him. And it isn't like the killer knows we dropped the remains there. He knew enough that these guys used our house hunting to lure us here. How? Our house hunting. Your house hunting. You're the one who's been doing hundreds of searches over the network. Anyone could find out about that. Jaxcom might be our official examiner, but it isn't advertised anywhere. They'd have to dig into our financial records to see that we have him on retainer. And there's no way he found that out by the short time it took us to drive back. He looked to Bahamel. Unless you need us, officer, we'll head home. They've taken your statement? They both nodded. Then you're good to go. I'll see you both next week. Trembor tilted an ear. Dinner, she said. Next week, my place. Ah, so you've rescheduled. Good. You can be sure I rescheduled. I'm not giving the wolf an excuse to wait another 2 years before talking to me. We have gone for drinks 3 times since the hospital. Marlot grumbled. I'd like to think that I've shown enough goodwill to get some leeway here. Anyway, Trembor said, we'll be there. I'm looking forward to it. Marlot told me great things about your baking. She glared at the wolf. Been spreading lies about me again. I wasn't there. You bake. That makes anything you make compared to what I do. That makes anything you make great compared to what I do. I tried teaching you. Marlot shrugged. I have better things to do than learn how to bake pretty-looking food. Food's made to be enjoyed, Wolf. Not to worry, Trevor said. He's going to eat it, and he's going to love it. Isn't that right, Marl? Marl gave his lion a mock glower. With you taking her side in this, what choice do I have? Quite the mate you are. He began standing, but Bahamel put a hand on his shoulder. Did you say mate? Trevor nodded, dusting his pants off. We signed the contract a few days ago. And I'm just hearing about this now? The growl slipped into her voice. How come I wasn't invited? It was a spur-of-the-moment thing, Marlot answered, not looking at her. Actually, it was a way of getting back at my father in the whole narrow-minded town. Not the best reason to get mated. Don't worry, Trembor said. I'm not letting him out of the contract. Still expect the council to annul it. He looked at the bear to see if she'd let him finish standing. Then we get mated again, and this time we have a proper ceremony. Trembor smiled at Bahamel. We're getting a ceremony anyway. My parents are going to make sure of that. I'll see to it you're invited, seeing as you're Mal's oldest friend in the city. She nodded. Good. And you, Wolf? She pulled him up and he winced. Don't let those grass eaters push you around. You're better than that. Mallet smiled. I won't. Not anymore. With any luck after this, they won't want to have anything to do with me. Give her a hug. He and Trevor walked away, his arm flat against his hurt side and the lion limping, heading for his car. After a few minutes of hobbling in silence, Marlot looked at his mate. You know, I think it's a good thing this was a setup after all. Trevor tilted an ear in this direction. Be honest here, Trev. You'd have fallen in love with the house and we would have been forced to walk this path every day to go to work. Can you imagine how annoying that would have been? You do know we could have asked her for a ride to the parking lot, right? I could see the car's flashing light. The car's flashing light not that far. Well, placed an arm around his lion's side, taking some of the weight off Trembor's short leg. Sure. But then you wouldn't be appreciating just how bad of an idea living here would be. Trevor placed an arm around Marlot's shoulder. Quite the mate you are, he grumbled. And this concludes chapter 30 of A Familiar Death. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the story as well as the others in the series, are available at all major e-retailer. If you want another way to support me, that's my Patreon, where you can also get access to just about everything I've written. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.